Contest of water and food security. I would like to begin by introducing the chair for our session, Dr. Rubina Wahaj. Before that, I'd like to call on the ladies from the Glisser. They have a message for you. They're going to introduce the technology we are going to use for this session.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. For this session, we're having digital Q&A. And in order for you to ask questions to the speakers, you can see on the slide above, there's a URL. I don't know if it's up or not. It's the same URL as yesterday, glsr.it/WC19. And you can just input your questions through the software the entire time, and then the questions will be taken right at the end. Can we have it on the screen, please?
So everybody can see it?
Yeah. I'll have them put it up into the screen.
Anyways, you can flash it during the session, all right? There we have it. So you can log into this and post questions for the session, and by the end, we'll take your questions through this. So I'm going to start by introducing the chair for this session, Dr. Rubina Wahaj. She's a senior officer of the Land and Water Division of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. She also advises FAO Representation Office in Pakistan on technical issues related to water. During her professional career, she has carried out assignments for UN agencies and reputable international consultancy firms. Dr. Wahaj holds a PhD in Irrigation and Water Engineering from Wageningen University and Research Center at Netherlands. During her PhD, she got inspired to utilize her knowledge and expertise to improve people's life and work for FAO. May I please request you to join us on stage? Thank you. Our next expert, Mr. Hippe Horubin, graduated in 1991 as an agriculture engineer with irrigation as specialization at Wageningen Agriculture University. In 1997, he started to work for the Land and Water Division of the Food and Agriculture Organization, where he cooperated in activities in support of FAO's efforts towards better assessment and monitoring of water resource availability and water use in agriculture, as well as development of tools for water resource planning. Currently, he leads FAO's work in water resource assessment, in which capacity he is the coordinator of FAO's information systems on water and engineering, Aquastat, and chief technical advisor for the project using remote sensing in support of solutions to reduce agriculture water productivity gaps. May I please request you to join us on stage? Our next panelist, Mr. Banaras Khan, specializes in agronomy and possesses over 20 years of experience in managing programs related to food security, livelihoods, resilience, agricultural development, disaster risk reduction, and climate change. With FAO, Mr. Khan has been instrumental in designing and rolling out numerous resilient agriculture, livelihoods, disaster risk reduction programs in Pakistan. Mr. Khan has also provided technical inputs for numerous food security and agriculture assessments carried out at the country level, including agriculture value chain assessments for identification and prioritization of value chain opportunities and constraints. Mr. Khan has also contributed to the Climate Smart Agriculture Profile of Pakistan, Punjab Province, and most recently Sindh Province. Moreover, he pioneered climate-smart agriculture rollout in all provinces of Pakistan, including ex-FATA, and designed agriculture resilience building approaches suitable for various agroecological settings. I please request you to join us. Our next expert, Dr. Ahmed, is internationally renowned expert on agriculture and water policy. He did his PhD from University of Massachusetts in resource economics. He carries an experience of around 40 years, including 24 years with FAO, and working in more than 15 countries. He has led the formulation of FAO's programs on agriculture and water policy for Near East countries, supported member countries in preparing agriculture strategies under water scarce conditions. He has spearheaded the World Bank and assisted regional initiatives on water scarcity of the FAO regional office in Cairo. He is assisted in formulating the ECHO national and regional food security policies and strategies. Apart from upstream work on agriculture and water, he has over the years developed expertise on agri-business value chain analysis and competitiveness. His recent work has been sponsored by various international organizations such as the ADB, GICA, USAID, FAO, Shore Bank, LUMS. In analyzing developing agriculture value chains in Pakistan needs special mention. He has also authored numerous technical and analytical papers on various facets of agriculture and sustainable development. Please join us on the stage. So I'm going to hand it over to the chair of our session, and we'll follow with presentations, I believe. It's on.
That's good. Thank you, Dania. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and a very good morning to everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with the renowned experts in the world on Nexus, economics, water, climate change. This session today aims at having a discourse on the water, food, energy nexus in the context of climate change. We will be hearing from our speakers on nexus in the context of climate change, but also on how climate-smart agriculture can help address the issues of nexus as well as climate change. We will also be hearing on how green growth can help us address these issues. Without further ado, I would like to request Mr. Yipe Hooghaven to present his speech on nexus in the context of climate change, water, food, energy nexus in the context of climate change. Yipe, you have about 10 minutes, so please adhere to...
There's no computer, no, but is there an... okay. Okay. You can see it over there, but yeah. It's, yeah. Okay. Good morning, everybody. And I would like to thank the organizers very much to give me the opportunity to say something about FAO's approach on the water and food and energy nexus. I am Yipe Hooghaven from the Land and Water Division of FAO headquarters in Rome. So a little bit on the presentation. I would like to say a few words on how this nexus is connected. So first I would like to say a few words on water and agriculture, then a little bit on energy and agriculture, then how this... Okay, this one is switched off, so it's better now, yeah? Okay, then we will talk about how this all connects together in the nexus, in the water, food, energy nexus, some examples, and then in the end to wrap up. So first, some basic figures on water requirements for human use. So first of all, if you look at how much water people need, first for drinking alone, we need about 2 liters per day. As a minimum, and if you have a lot, then 4 is already a lot for drinking. For domestic needs, we need about a little bit 10 times as much, or even more. but most of the water that we need to live is being used to produce our food, and that's evapotranspiration. To produce food, we need, as a bare minimum, nature needs to evaporate about 1,000 liters of food to produce our daily foods. And that's really the essential, that's the minimum. If we have a diet of a lot of meat and dairy products, we need much more, and we need even 5,000 liters. So, so most of our water, the water that we need for our daily life, is on food and not on drinking. As a rule of thumb, you can say, well, we need for our living on energy, we need 2,000 kilocalories a day, and that to produce those 2,000 calories a day we need about 2,000 liters of water. So, rule of thumb, for our food we need 1 liter of water for every calorie. So, water use in agriculture. Agriculture is the main user of water. We have about almost 340 million of hectares of irrigated land. Irrigation is extremely important in agriculture. I don't need to tell that in this setting of Pakistan, everybody knows that, but globally, about 20% of all agricultural areas is irrigated. But that 20% produces about 40% of the agricultural production, and for the cereal production it's even 60%. So this shows clearly that it's important, but it uses a huge amount of water. So this is the global figures on water withdrawal. 70% of all water withdrawal goes to agriculture. 20% goes to industry and 10% goes to cities. But most of the water used for industries and for cities goes back to the system. It returns to the system. While of agriculture, most of it is being evaporated. So if you look at the real consumption, agriculture uses more than 90% of all the water that is evaporated. So that's a lot. Therefore, why do we still irrigate? Can't we do it with rain-fed agriculture? That's indeed very difficult. I have many colleagues at FAO who do promote rain-fed agriculture, and I also promote rain-fed agriculture. I think rain-fed agriculture is great. Wherever it is possible, we should do rain-fed agriculture. But in areas where rainfall is not sufficient for agriculture or it's unreliable, we definitely need irrigation. And within a changing climate, we will need more irrigation in the future. Irrigation gives also the possibility to use more crop. It's more efficient than rain-fed agriculture. You can grow double or triple croppings in 1 year, where rain-fed agriculture often provides enough water for 1 crop a year. Furthermore, if you have the possibility to irrigate, you can do more. Your farming can be more precise. You can do precision farming. You can make sure that that your fertilizers is being applied more efficiently. You can use high-yielding varieties that only work with irrigation, and while with rain-fed agriculture they will not be as productive. And you can grow crops that are higher in value, that need higher investments, but that also give higher returns. So irrigation is important, but to irrigate we also need energy. So, and it's not only, but in the energy in agriculture. Agriculture takes about 30% of all energy that is being used globally. Most of this is used of the energy is used after the farm gate. So, but before the farm gate, we use irrigation We use energy for irrigation pumps, for land preparation, also for fishing. Agriculture we see over here at FAO in a broad sense, including fisheries and forestries. Fertilizer, producing fertilizer costs a huge amount of energy, and also pesticides is very energy intensive. So we have to be very sorry. So I'm sorry. Energy smart agriculture makes sure that we can. Thank you. Energy smart agriculture makes sure that we use energy in a smart way. So there are two ways to do this. This is through direct interventions at the farm level and through indirect interventions. When we look at the farm level, we have to be sure that our pumps and machines are very fuel efficient. Precision agriculture, I mentioned that earlier already, that makes sure that the energy is being used specifically there where it is needed. And conservation agriculture is in that context also a very energy efficient way of using, of practicing agriculture. Specifically, because we do not have to use tillage. Tillage is an extremely, uses a lot of energy. If you do no tillage agriculture, then you don't need to have those big, powerful tractors. Indirect interventions are, for example, the use of renewable energy. We can use biofertilizer rather than chemical fertilizer, and we can focus on water demand management. And that means being more careful with the water that we are using on the farm. And when we use less water, we also use less energy. Another part that is also extremely important is the reduction of waste. In agriculture, we waste about 30% of all our food, and that is in the production chain, but also after the production chain. All the food that we are wasting is not only about we don't only waste the food, but we also waste the energy that is being used to produce the food, and also the resources that is being used to produce the food. Solar powered irrigation is the use of, what's this? Oh, I see something over here, but there is something going on the computer over here or not? 70 seconds to stand by. Well, I think it goes in standby soon. Anyway, let me say something about solar-powered irrigation. Yes. Oh, no. Something on solar-powered irrigation. Solar power. Yeah. Well, solar power irrigation is. Now I don't see anything anymore.
I brought this hand at least to back up.
Yeah. Okay. Something on solar power irrigation. Solar power is, of course, a very is a very efficient way of using energy, but it has also a disadvantage. It has a high initial cost to install it, but once you have it, energy is for free. So before before the price of energy was in some ways regulating the amount of water that's being used on the field. But what we see now often is there where we install solar power, we have more, the water use is increasing because the energy is so cheap. So what's really important in this context is that we do water accounting. We have to make sure, we have to check very carefully what happens to the water, to the water levels. And that water is not being used in too much. All this, the considerations on solar power irrigation is being written down in this in this publication that you see on the left-hand side of the slide. On energy production by biofuels, that's another issue. That's agriculture can also produce energy. Then we're talking about biofuels. So what is often thought of is biofuels, are they a green alternative for fossil fuels? Often that's a problem because the energy yields versus the energy, there are energy yields versus the energy costs. Often it is the yields are lower than the costs. And then we do not get what we want. Furthermore, there is the food and fuel dilemma. 1 day of food, you can produce 1 day of food versus with the same amount in agriculture, the same amount of agriculture production versus 1 liter of biofuels. But there are also development opportunities. There are smallholder schemes that are being developed specifically to grow biofuels. But on the other hand side, there is land grab, where people are warning for. So, and the last point that I would like to mention in this context is the potential of the natural natural resource base. Is there enough land and water to produce it? All these 2 minutes, okay. So what we propose in FAO is a Nexus approach. Everything is interconnected to each other. We have we have to balance the different resource users' goals and interests, but also take in consideration the integrity of the ecosystems. We talk about the water, food, and energy nexus, but what has been said earlier, you can connect, you can add many other parts to the nexus, like the environment. That has not been done in this case. A few words on the FAO approach on the water, energy, food nexus. First of all, we have the resource base. That is what nature provides us with. It tells us about the land, water, energy, and also the capital and labor that is needed. Then we have the goals at the top. How much food we need to produce, how much energy do we need to produce, and also how much water we need to produce to produce food, but also to produce water. Then there are the drivers. The drivers we see, we have climate change as a driver, we have population growth as an important driver, but there are many others, and they are on the sides. What's happening is everything is connected, and what we need is that people talk to each other. And that is what needs to happen over here. What we are proposing is a stakeholder dialogue between all the users, and that is different from what has been used often in the water sector, when we promote integrated resources water management. While that is important, integrated water resources management, it still looks to everything from the water sector. But what is needed is not only looking at the water sector, but taking into consideration also the other sectors. And that will, and for that we need to have this this stakeholder dialogue. And I think I'll stop over here. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Yipe. Fascinating presentation. Thank you for telling us about the interconnectedness of the issues, and that we must be able to have trade-offs, and we must balance resource use goals and interests. The next presenter is Banaras Khan, who is going to tell us about climate-smart agriculture and how it can address the Nexus issues. Banaras, you have 10 minutes. We started a little late, so please try to be on time. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So I'll keep your instructions. I will talk about the climate-smart agriculture. Thanks to JP, he has made my life easy because he has talked about the Nexus. So there is a challenge, and this is reality that climate variability and change is impacting food, agriculture, energy. So I will talk more about these, and also the experiences of FAO in Pakistan on rolling out the climate-smart agriculture approach. So the climate change affects agriculture in many ways. The increased frequency of the dry spells and drought, We have seen this last year. In 2018, 14 districts of Balochistan and 8 districts of Sindh has been affected by the drought. So this current recurrent drought is impacting lives and livelihoods of the smallholder farmer. Changes in precipitation patterns, like the monsoon patterns are changing. Its strength and timing is erratic, and it has bearing on the water and also on the energy. The glacial melt is another example of the climate change. Then increasing intensity of the extreme events. Over the last 2 decades, Pakistan have seen lots of disaster, ranging from floods, mega floods, cyclones, heat waves. So Karachi people are sitting here, so we are experiencing heat waves, and Karachi is the worst hit for the last 2 years. So these extreme events have a lot of implications on overall Pakistan's development, because government of Pakistan and the development partner put a lot of funds, put a lot of money in response, recovery, and rehabilitation, and that has compromised the development of the country. The rising temperature, as I've discussed, and it has bearing on the glacial melt. The temperature variability, we have seen the temperature is varying. The summer season is extended, and the winter season is squeezed down. So it has impact on negative impact on the productivity of the crops, livestock, fisheries, and all other sectors. So what are the solutions? In 2013, FAO has developed an approach which is called CSA, or Climate Smart Agriculture. So the climate smart agriculture that sustainably increase productivity, enhance resilience, adaptations of the smallholder farmers, and reduce or removes greenhouse gases emission. Climate smart agriculture has 3 pillars. It talks about the sustainable increase in the production, that's to ensure the food security. It talks about, it advocates the adaptation, because majority of Pakistani farmers are the smallholder, and their adaptive capacities are very low. So we have to enhance the adaptive capacities of those smallholder farmers. Otherwise, they would be seriously challenged for their food security. And the third pillar talks about how to reduce or remove the greenhouse gases emissions coming from the agriculture sector. The major contributor in agriculture sector are the livestock and the rice. So climate smart agriculture talks about the transformation of the agriculture systems. Its adaptations, like how the different technologies, the efficient technologies, JP have talked about the efficient technologies in agriculture. There are lots of operations in agriculture which used to consume a lot of energy, like the tillage operations, like the irrigation. And so how they can be minimized, they can be efficiently used. So climate smart agriculture advocates about the adaptation, and also at the same time how to reduce or remove the greenhouse gases emission. During the last, I would like to share some of the good experiences over the years that FAO has achieved. Government of Pakistan, we are supporting Government of Pakistan in planning, formulation of the policies, strategies, framework, and at the same time, we are also building the capacities of the smallholder, working in all the provinces, including the regions like now it's KP, it's FATA, now it's included in KP. We are directly working with smallholder farmers to build their capacities in introducing and demonstrating the different technologies that are suitable for their context, and that can increase the resilience of those communities. So far, we have supported Government of Pakistan in development of agroecological zones for Punjab, and we have also completed the Sindh agroecological zones. Just to let you know that in 1980s, these agroecological zones were defined. So for the last 38 years, there are a lot of changes and variabilities, and they haven't been changed. So through this very scientific study, these agroecological zones are renewed. And just to give you an example, we are sitting in Sindh. The Sindh agroecological zone, which were delineated in 1980, they were 7. But now, because of the climate change and variability, there are 10 distinct agroecological zones in Sindh. The second thing is for the policymakers and the planners, the climate smart agriculture baselines. That is very important. How the climate change is impacting. So adopting the value chain approach, what are the different adaptation measures that can be taken to face the challenge of the climate change. So we have supported Government of Sindh and Government of Punjab in development of the climate smart agriculture profile of the provinces. And we're also supporting Government of Sindh, KP, and Punjab in rollout of the climate smart agriculture profile at the district level and also at the village level. So that would definitely aid to the adaptation of the smallholder farmers. And at the farm level, we are building the capacities of the farmers, directly working with them and demonstrating different technologies. I've just taken an example of the rice. So where we have introduced the sustainable rice intensification approach, and following the AWD, alternate and dry method, wet and dry method, which has increased the protection of the farmer, as well as the use of the water is 25 to 30% is reduced, and also it has a positive impact on the greenhouse gases emission. With this, thank you very much for listening patiently.
Thank you, Benaras, and thank you very much for saving us a couple of minutes. No, you cannot take that. We are already late. I just want to remind everybody that you can already start to pose questions on the website that I think Dania and the other colleague have mentioned. So if we get the questions right after the panelist intervention, we can take up the questions. So the next speaker is Dr. Mahmood on green growth, please.
Well, I think I will say in the beginning that Dr. Adil already raised the bar for me, working in lumps. But I think he's right in a way that this is the work I'm going to present. It's a case study, very small research work, we did it. I tried when I retired from FAO in 2006. I came to Pakistan. I said, okay, let's do some evidence-based research here. And for me, shockingly, for good 10, 15 years, I could not even mobilize very small funds to do some basic research on rice, sugarcane, and all that, the economics of it. Till last year, a student from the economics department comes in lumps, and she tells me that she wants to do something on environmental economics. I said, okay, something I was dreaming about, to see that a model which I have developed with FAO in other countries, which we call it policy analysis matrix, which I'll briefly really, I'll not have the time. I said, if we can include the environmental cost in it, that will be a very pioneer work. And here we are with this student, we were able to really produce this, and now everybody started listening. Okay, let me now be here, because there I probably will not be able to. Now my time starts.
It started 2 minutes.
Okay. Now, I think what we have, where is that slide, first slide? Okay, let's move to the next, this one. Yeah, I think what I have to say is that agriculture sector is in the crisis. Why is that? It is largely, I have traveled a lot in all the provinces, its costs are rising, output prices are uncertain, and I think we don't have comparative advantages, many things which we are promoting, like sugarcane, and at the same time, we are not competitive. And finally, our agriculture growth is also not inclusive. So what we have done is, in the process, we have done an unsustainable agriculture. So I think what we are trying to do this in presentation is to see how we can move from this unsustainable agriculture pattern to sustainable agriculture pattern. So what we did is that, okay, fortunately, when I'm talking about the student girl, so I said there is a guy, Dr. Sharif, he always brings us to a point that, okay, here is a case that I'm producing agriculture crops, traditional crops, with less fertilizer, no pesticides, I can give you that slide, and the yields are increased. So he calls it a paradoxical agriculture. So we used that data, and we were able to come up with some, at the background, what I draw this graph where I was showing that our fertilizer use growth is much higher than what we are getting yield growth into commodities. So that was quite telling. Then what he was telling us about the what we call the paradoxical agriculture was doing three things. One is conservation agriculture. Second is raising some of these crops using good agriculture practices. And some other really using better use of our land, water, and now energy. That means enhancing the productivity. So given the shortage of time, I will just right away come to let me see, this is the main slide, which I'll not be able to explain all of it, but the thing is that we have to move from conventional agriculture to paradoxical agriculture. That means to leads to greening growth with agriculture use as profitable, competitive, sustainable, and inclusive. So what we did, this is the model I was talking about. The main model, which is called policy analysis matrix, I have been using it as a policy tool to talk to the policymakers in many countries. It was very good. We were able to, when any country is preparing a policy or a strategy, that used to be very good tool. But the environmental cost was lacking. So when this girl comes to me, I told her that the only case I have is the one in Indonesia written by Stanford. We can go and talk with this guy, and maybe he can give us the data. So to me, we were able to get, this is the data provided by an outfit called Padavar, where we have, that's not, we have to move. Yeah, this is the data. So the one which is green, that is a sustainable budget we prepared, and one it is the red, which is the conventional budget. So, I mean, if anyone wants to go into details of it, we can go it, but the upshot is that with this, we were able to put together that the difference between conventional and sustainable was that we were able to reduce, or his data was able to reduce land preparation by 80%, sowing cost by 48%, fertilizer by 71%, pesticide, no pesticides were included, and irrigation. And yet, the revenue increased. In the Indonesian case, the revenue decreased because if they eliminated seeds, pesticide, the compliance cost was high. So anyway, our results were even better. Now, how much minutes I have? 2, okay. I jump to the conclusions, the results. The results, now this is the unsustainable. I'm not going to go. The last 3 indicators, what is NPC, effective protection, and domestic resource cost. The first one tells us the incentive structure. In the case of conventional rice grower, his incentive structure is still distorted. What it means is that he's getting only 85% of the world price, as reflected in the last 1.85. The most important thing is the DRC, the comparative advantage. What we got the number here is that using his domestic resources, how much value he generates, it is for every 96 rupees he spends, he gets $100. Okay, it's this margin, all right. It's not making a whole lot of money. Then we move to the paradoxical agriculture. Incentive structure remains the same, but look at the comparative advantage. He's spending 37 rupees to get 100 rupees back. So this is a case where if I go into the palm, the first row tells us that yes, he has competitiveness. The second row tells us he has comparative advantage. And these numbers tells us his sustainability. My primary policy finding. Significant improvement in comparative advantage. The numbers I have already. High returns on investment. The conventional approach, 100 rupees for 96, but in this case, 37. Then phenomenal reduce in input cost, which I showed the graph. Then improving competitiveness. Financial profit in both cases were high. Sustainable form, mulching and other good agriculture included drawing SRAS method was used. At the end, provided absolutely win-win outcome. Less environmental degradation and much needed profitability. Our last slide, future work at Water Center at Lumps, we have done only on rice. Already the results on sugarcane are fascinating. I'm very excited about them. Then we will take up the corn, potatoes, and other. Then I think the challenge is, this is pilot work, how to scale it up. Already I am talking with the guy who provided us data. He has 50,000 followers, and every day on WhatsApp, he's providing them the data. So we are getting constant feedback. And then we want to also, my first relation, urban unit is the planning outwing of the planning ministry. They asked me to start similar work in Multan region. So we have selected the Multan as a division where we will not look at the mainstream policy issues, but also the environmental costs. Then, of course, FAO is starting a new project. This might be a bit of food for thought. We are doing a workshop back-to-back from 2 to 4 December in Karachi here with OIC, and it has a similar topic, and there I'll be able to present this study. They have given me 1 hour for it, really. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mahmood Saab. We already gave you 4 minutes extra, but that's okay. Thanks for talking about paradoxical agriculture and how it can help with having a sustainable agriculture practices in Pakistan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to invite the 2 other panelists on the stage Dr. Abdul Majid, who is heading this ICADA in Pakistan currently, and he has over 40 years of professional experience in management and research positions. In ICADA in Pakistan, he is managing several projects, including watershed management projects, irrigation development projects, an initiative that enhances cotton production and soil fertility and health projects applied to different ecozones. Before joining ICADA, he served as a national coordinator for wheat at the National Agriculture Research Center in Pakistan. And he has been associated with different private sector companies as well. So with that, I would like to invite Dr. Abdul Majid at the stage. I would also like to invite Dr. Zia Habib, who has worked in water sector in Pakistan as a development and planning consultant, as a researcher, and as an advisor on policy issues. Currently, she is a member of a think tank committee on water resources, organized by Pakistan Engineering Council. She's a very well known in water sector in Pakistan, of course, and she is also carrying out, and that's not written here, she's carrying out water accounting for the Indus Basin currently with FAO. She has worked with FAO, she has worked with World Bank, she has worked with Asian Development Bank, she has worked with International Water Management Institute, so you name it, and she has worked on different institutes in Pakistan. You name any topic on water, she has worked on that for Pakistan. So with that, I would like to invite Dr. Majid to talk about...
a few minutes on...
Yes, 3-4 minutes. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to talk to you. As Robin has mentioned, I'm involved in agriculture for the last many years. I think one of the things we developed many technologies, we have seen many technologies, their economic value, their social acceptance. One of the problems which I have been always facing and confronted with is how these technologies will go to small farmers. So that has been the issue which for the last 5-6 years I have been really trying to address. How to develop those mechanisms or models which can help on water technologies, energy technologies, and also on agriculture production technologies, which can reach the farmers. I think one of the things which we did for the last 4 or 5 years, we used the word which is very traditional, still untraditional, to institutionalize it in the country, is use of agriculture service providers. So these are the people who live in villages at a very grassroots level, but have no connection in the past with agriculture extension or universities or research development. So what we did was we trained these people, we selected them very, very carefully because selection is important. And in those ones, they were also youth because we know there are a lot of employment. These people are supposed to be delivering services and earning income. They will not be provided any money. So they will be given training and also providing really technical knowledge to people and developing linkages, whatever is needed to do backward and forth. Those people, then we selected about 70 people in 4 provinces of Pakistan. We also started with 15 different technologies on water, on agriculture, on energy, and tried to really help them and train them and left them to the people. One important thing we found that most of the people have similar good knowledge, but very little knowledge on business at that level. So one important thing which we added to the program was really giving them training on business. So we developed a selection criteria for them, we developed the business opportunity for them, helping them that these are the technologies you work. Then we really link them with the private sector, with public sector, with agriculture dealers, and many others. I didn't bring the presentation, but I can show you they are now really sustaining themselves. Out of 70, 60 people are sustaining themselves. They are earning income. They are providing services on 20 different technologies. So I think the lesson I learned for the last 5 years, technology can only go to the farmer if you develop a proper mechanism. Because otherwise, we have been trying many different ways, and they are linked now with agriculture extension, they are linked with industries, they are linked with many others. Like, if I can give you a small example of drip irrigation system, for example. It was not successful anywhere because the big companies come, install system, disappear and go to big cities. And farmer don't have any repair and maintenance mechanisms. They don't know what to do. Then they fold it and forget about it. We failed. Now I tell you frankly, in Balochistan, we have about 5 service providers. They are linked with private sector. They are providing services. As a result, they are earning 4,000 to 5,000 rupees in 2-3 months. And they are also handling repair and maintenance. So I think that all agriculture sector, water sector, FAO can really consider this. I have a big model which we produced for the last 5 years under IARDA, and that is taking a lot of momentum as a policy. Though people are coming into mainframe, so I hope this technology or this model will help in the future to small farmers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Majid. Finally, Dr. Zaham, you would like to say a few things?
Thank you. Actually, I want to talk about one thing only. It's an issue or question which is asked last 2 days by many people. Is this climate, this Nexus, water, food, energy Nexus, is it a practical thing or an idea only? And today we have seen some practical examples also. The issue and the good thing is that we can put anything and everything in this Nexus. Because when there is a food, there is energy and water. We can put everything under climate change threat also, because there is a climate change and things are changing. There's not much discussion, but I think governance and the security, these are actually umbrella things, and it needs to be little bit defined differently, maybe in case of this Nexus, which I want to share my idea on that. So what I want to say as my opinion, and I think there may be different opinions because it's not well formed up till now. I think this Nexus, and anything can be put in this Nexus, especially related to the food production, food consumption system. And when FAO is doing climate smart agriculture, and we are talking about optimization and the different type of like rain-fed agriculture or the different technology, solar technology, saving the energy, there should be some case studies which take this Nexus, the technical work, which they take this Nexus as a process for the valuation and costing. So we put the cost, we put the value, and we put all these 3 angles of the triangle. We develop that with the cost and benefit for a particular agriculture system. For example, where the energy is used a lot in some of the system, for the drainage, for the pumpage, and some other system where the groundwater pumpage is not required, energy is used less. For example, in rain-fed system, energy is used less. But there is a benefit of that. That also varies. And we use, for example, governance for the optimization. I think governance is not only corruption and all those things, but for the optimization, why and how to adopt the system. For example, the rice system today presented, why and how, what are the local conditions which help to adopt that type of system. So I think it's my suggestion for FAO also, the type of experiment, because they are now working with the Banaras set, with many local organization, and there are different type of agricultures. So for example, we want to shift, many people say that we want to shift from sugarcane to the other system. But for the farmer, sugarcane is beneficial. So he has production benefits. So how this Nexus help to define a shift in the cropping pattern? Where is the saving, different type of saving, what is the impact on livelihood, and what is the impact of his personal income, and how do you compensate, how you make a optimal triangle, about that. I think most of the conversation should be, in my opinion, sometimes we say the water is everybody's business. It should not be nobody's business. Everybody's business doesn't mean there should not be good science. In my opinion, sometimes we are going towards bit weaker science or weaker technology because everybody wants something. I think technically things should be strong. Experts should do their work as a basis of something, and then on the governance and on the security, there should be more dialogue. And only one thing about security, I think it should be, generally it should be security of what? It can be water security, it can be food security, it can be energy security, but the security should be linked to the sustainable of system, but also security should be linked with the livelihood system of the farmer. So it is the production system security and the optimization which should evaluate this triangle, and triangle should be very technically developed. And if we have some case studies from Pakistan for the different agriculture systems, so this question will not be much asked that is it only theoretical or practical? So that's
Thank you, Dr. Habib. It's time for me to stand up now. We have already received 2 questions from the audience, and we start with that, and then we can start the interaction with you directly. So question number 1 is on, the question is there any statistics available on the economic impact of heat waves or extreme conditions witnessed in the last 2 years? Who would like to answer that? Okay. Or you, Yipe? Sure, go ahead.
I can say a little bit about it, but no, the short answer is no, there are no statistics available on that. They may come available. Statistics are always lagging behind. Often they are lagging behind even 2 years before you really get reliable statistics. So they are not yet available. What can be done actually is, and then you're not talking about statistics anymore, but there are model data available. They come from agronomic models to see how much, what was the production compared during heat waves compared to the past. And other possibilities would even be by using, for example, remote sensing type of observations and seeing how much biomass has been produced during these heat waves compared to what you could say a normal year.
Okay.
Robina, just to share with you that the heat wave, basically, it has impacted the urban, particularly the city, and it was the Karachi for the last 2 years. Unfortunately, there is no systematic study or statistics available because it, in 2017, it has impacted because there was Ramadan and then there was extreme temperature. But unfortunately, that kind of statistics, robust statistics, is not available on the heat wave.
Okay, I think I'm going to ask one more question from these, and then we can open the interaction. And that question, it's very hard for me to read there. I don't have my glasses with me, but the question number 2 is somebody has asked if there are examples of savings in terms of environment, so water, food wastage, and agriculture, which are actually relevant to Pakistan. So, who would like to answer this? Ma'am, number 2. Yeah. Now, in terms of saving water, agriculture, food wastage, which are relevant to Pakistan.
There is a relation between water and agriculture, a very strong one. It's very obvious. But the policies what we have been following all these years is all supply driven. Let's get more water, more water. I think there is so much can be done, and I have numbers, graphs, and whatnot really, that if we adopt the demand management practices, that can be quite instrumental in saving the water, increasing agriculture productivity. Now, for me, a bit emphasis is on improving the productive efficiency, which means, yes, we are putting a lot of money in drip irrigation, these kind of things, lining it off the canal. Some of these trade-offs are not very clear. What we are not doing is to improve the allocative efficiency. How, for a given volume of water, how we can allocate between different sectors, within sectors, which crop should go. So I think not much is done, and that's where the major saving of water is. Of course, the same goes for energy. Energy, again, we have investing so much in terms of creating new energy capacity and all that, but so much again can be done, again, adopting policies on demand management, both on water and energy, both, and it will save both these valuable resources.
Thank you, Mahmood Sam. Okay, one more question that Dr. Majid will respond to, and that is the question number 1, which is, can we influence at all farmers to shift from conventional practices, or I would rather say sometimes not all conventional practices are bad, so unsustainable practices to sustainable practices in agriculture? Dr. Majid.
Thank you very much. I think there are a lot of solutions. How the farmer can leave conventional agriculture to smart agriculture, modern agriculture. As I mentioned in my speech, there is no direct connect practically of our technologies to the farmers. Big farmer, few can pick every technology they can reach, but small farmer has a big vacuum. Until we really break those, as I mentioned, those service providers into the mechanism, into the system, then the technology will definitely flow. And we can, because if there is no machinery available with the farmers, if there is no new systems available with the farmer at grassroots level. In Pakistan, many of you know that with small farmer, they don't have a tractor, they don't have machines, they totally rely on other people in the village to provide them services. Until those people are trained, those people are educated, they are provided loans to have a modern machinery, only then our traditional agriculture will be converted into modern agriculture. Otherwise, we'll keep on talking and training people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Majid. So what I would like to do now is to ask you directly if there are questions. And you can ask, otherwise we can go back to the list, but it's nicer if you would like to ask questions personally. Anyone comment, question? Please.
Is there prospects for mechanizing agriculture and getting more food productivity and so on? I know that consumes energy, but is there prospects for that?
In the context of Pakistan, you mean?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he was talking about manual labor. Obviously, if you mechanize it, there's going to be more productivity.
Give it a try first, and then...
Sir, if you repeat the question for...
Mechanization of agriculture.
Yeah,
this is... Yeah, potential for mechanization for agriculture in Pakistan.
Yeah, this is the area where we have to invest more because we need, the technologies which we are using at the moment are not compatible to the modern day requirement. And for example, I will just give you an example of the combined harvester and its impact on the climate change. You can see the smog and fog in Lahore and areas, and this is the outcome of the combined harvester which cuts the crop at this much height, and farmer has to, they are compelled to burn their residues. The technology, the mechanization needs are there, and they needs to be modernized. according to the new realities. So I mean, we have a lot of scope in this, and particularly using those technologies which are climate smart, like JP has discussed about the solarization, because we haven't tapped this source of energy very efficiently, and we need to tap this source of energy, which is very cheap and which is renewable. Thank you.
Can I follow up on that, please?
Okay.
So you're saying a combined harvester has a negative impact in terms of the climate issue, but it provides you significant productivity. So it's a trade-off at the end of the day. Can a combined harvester be made more green? I mean, how would you?
So that would be a big debate, but this is a recognized fact that 20 years back, there were few, but now we have more than 400,000 combined harvesters in Punjab used by the 4 million smallholder farmers. So the thing is that it has negative impact on the climate, the greenhouse gases emission, and also you can see the effects of. This is used both by Pakistan and also the other part of the. So it has a lot of bearing on the environmental degradation.
Thank you, Banaras. Majid Sahab, you want to add something?
Just, I'd like to add to your question. There are quite a few technologies and mechanization which is available. And as a pilot, we have tested many machines at farm level which can be used by the farmer. But farmer don't have those because there is no proper mechanism with the industry, with the people who are providing services to people. So I can give you many examples. For example, banana in Sindh is really thrown on the roads and burned. Once I was traveling, I saw 2 accidents. Young kids were injured because of fire. So from there, we start working on how to really use this banana residues for better purposes, for composting, for example. So we introduce a machine from other countries, we manufacture locally. Now those service providers are trying to provide services. They are gathering those bananas in the farm, converting into compost and putting in the soil. So it's helping environmentally, also it's improving the productivity of farmer. Many examples on rice residues, for example, as you mentioned, the combined harvesting could be very bad if the farmers start burning the residues. If they don't burn those, if they are used properly, you have a proper machinery, it is available, used, it will give you better production, and it will give you better benefits. So many machines available. Bed planters are available, not commonly used. Drip system, as has been mentioned. Many other machines, ridge planters. So many machineries which were not recognized in the past. We only think mechanization is only harvesters and tractors. But actually mechanization, which is used at the farm, is available. We put more emphasis on those machines and their adaptability. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Majid. Here, and then first here, because he asked me, Naini. Yeah, and then here. This time I'm going to take 2-3 questions and then...
Very interesting session, thank you very much. As a company, we're quite heavily engaged with farmers in Sindh, in Tharparkar area, for chilies, red chilies. We started off with a particular problem was how to control aflatoxins. And that was a lot of post-harvest practices, how to pick it properly, etc., which we were quite successful at. But then, actually, all of the things you've been saying, we realized this is just we just opened a Pandora's box, actually. And the real problem for us right now is how to control the quality of seed. So we have our own seed production, we have our own seed farm, but how to distribute it, how to control it. And I know the same thing's happening in cotton because we're also involved in textiles. And I'm just very interested to know what the FAO, how do you see us actually overcoming this basic hurdle that the seed itself is not right, that we're using many different crops.
Thank you for the question. I think I'm going to take 2 or 3 and then we...
Yeah, it was a very good presentation on conventional versus paradoxical agriculture, sir. My question is that, as you said, as you mentioned, that there is 0 pesticides in paradoxical agriculture. Is biocontrol a part of this paradoxical agriculture? If no, then can it be a part of this biocontrol?
Should I respond first? Or?
And any other question? Yeah, I'll take 3 questions and then we go to
In relation to climate-smart agriculture uptake, what's been the most effective mechanism in terms of getting the farmers on board? Has it been training of trainer sessions, working through the community and village organizations? And what sort of pitfalls have there been?
Okay, so Banaras, you have 2 questions. So I'll go first to Mahmood Saab. Can bio options help?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm not a technician in that sense. So before coming here, presenting the economic analysis, I went to Asif Saab, who is the father behind all this. So I said, the same question you raised. He replied to me that, listen, if we grow healthy plants, they don't need weedicide, insecticides, and all that. So from the right go, we have to create agriculture practices which really minimize this. If there is a need, second thing is IPM, integrated. Finally, we were talking about the implements. Now, he was also a specialist in implements. What he was telling me that our implements are not really designed, to be very frank, to really address our problems, moving from this to that, really. And he showed me a host of machinery which they were using it for applying fertilizer, for pesticides, removing it in the beginning and all that. So I think that there are a number of really interventions which are available, but his strong point is if you try to have this healthy growth, very minimal need of fertilizer, and mulching was the bottom line. His strong point was if we cover the soil, provide the mulching, we don't need to tilling, excessive tilling, and mulching. These were the 2 underlying things which I got out of this convention versus traditional. And we have just started it. So I think as we go on other crops, we will get more information and we'll be in a better position to answer your questions.
Thank you. Banaras.
Thank you very much. This is a very pertinent question, and seed is very, very near to my heart. You would be astonished to listen that Pakistan doesn't have, there is no existence of the seed testing lab which is accredited with the ASTA. So FAO has supported very recently Federal Seed Certification Registration Department. So it is the first ISTA lab is established in Islamabad. So it is functioning. First part that FAO, what the FAO has been supporting. The seed sector only for four crops basically: rice, sugarcane, cotton, and wheat. So the seed availability is in a very dismal condition. Particularly if we talk about the vegetables, I'm sorry to say that we are not, we are really, really deficient in the vegetable seeds. The act, the seed amendment, which was approved in 2016-17 by the government, by the outgoing government at that time. What FAO is supporting, after that amendment, basically this needs to be, all the major players needs to be aware what the amendments is saying about, and it has given the breeder rights to the companies. Before that, it was non-existing. So we are supporting Federal Seed Certification Registration Department to have interaction with the major players in the seed industry to build their capacity and use how to use this amendment in favor of producing the seeds, for example, in Pakistan. But at the moment, I can't say anything particularly on vegetable seeds, because we are also struggling to get the quality vegetable seeds for our smallholder farmers. Regarding the rollout of the the climate smart practices and technologies at the farmers level. At the moment, we are trying different approaches. It's mostly through the demonstrations because we are working in many districts of Pakistan in all the 4 provinces, including ex-FATA. So it's mostly on the demonstration because these technologies, as Zia has mentioned, they need, first we have identified the technologies which are suitable for a particular context. Okay, so they are the contextual technologies which are required by the farmers. Then the demonstration. And the third part is the economic analysis of those technologies. Are they economical for the farmers or not? If, for example, they are not economical to the farmers don't go for that. So we are for the transferring the knowledge, we are using different modes, and so we are using the ICT, and this is, everyone in Pakistan, even in the rural areas, they have the access to the mobile phone, and they're using the Android phones. So that is also a technology FAO is promoting, and in our upcoming GCF funded project, their technological solutions would be available to more than 400,000 farmers.
Thank you, Banaras. I think the time is up, unless there is one last question, burning question, if anyone wants to ask. Otherwise, we have to wind up. I guess we can wind up. We've heard really fascinating presentations and interventions on how can we move from unsustainable agriculture to sustainable agriculture, what are the conditions for success to apply Nexus approach, and how important it is for stakeholders to talk to each other. With that, you will have plenty of time to interact with our panelists later on during lunch. Finally, I would like to, FAO representative Ms. Meena Daulachai is here, and I would like her to say a few words in the end, maybe a couple of minutes. Meena, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here, give my 2 cents to this extremely knowledgeable panel. I was really pleased. It was really a very good interaction. And let's say my own takeaways are that it is important to bring the sustainability dimension into agriculture. So the work that has been done there is an important one. I would say let's remember when we talk sustainability, it's also about socioeconomics. And therefore, it's not just the income, but also how the whole system, economic system works. And in that, also let's remember of the important role of the women, which goes largely unpaid in Pakistan in rural areas to date. My second reflection is how much, and this has been a constant discovery that I've made in my 2.5 years in Pakistan, how much technology, how much thinking, how much research there has been in the last 5-10 years. And it is a wealth, and basically localized solutions are there. Pakistan has been extremely successful in bringing in knowledge from outside, but also developing its own experience. So the solutions are out there, but here I will pick on the comment of our colleague from NARC, who said, how do we bring this to the farmers? Because this is still a little bit of a knot, and we are still struggling with it. And there are good examples, but they're all on a very small scale. And we're talking here more than 20 million people being smallholder farmers in Pakistan and being a part of the backbone of the food systems. And so it means the production, but also the consumption. The final 2, let's say, reflections are, seeds and research. And what I found is there has been a lot of research, and we now have the pieces to bring to commercial, to scale, to the farmers. But I found also very fragmented research. And so I kept thinking, what is the role of the private sector in that? And the role of private sector is big, but it needs to be not only driven by profit. It needs to be driven by an alignment to the strategic development objective of the government and to the sustainability agenda, so including the Sustainable Development Goals that the government of Pakistan has picked up. And one example on the seeds, I've been told the story, I'm not a seed expert, I'm just the FAO rep, but I've been told the fact that there is a very high-end bakery in Islamabad. And I asked, where do they get their wheat from? Because I was hoping there could be a good story about linkages with the production and then this high-end bakery. And I was told that the wheat is imported from Poland. Because there did exist a type of wheat in Pakistan which was indigenous, very specific here, was very high quality. I don't remember the name, I was given the name, but the yields were low. So because there's no certification, there's no labeling, there's no following the criteria for the products to then also reach regulated markets, therefore, that type of wheat has basically disappeared with other varieties which are much lower value. So that type of wheat could have been sold on the markets for really high-end prices, including on international markets. It just disappeared. So this is the type of aspects that need to be looked at, and as you see, you start touching one piece and you get into the other, so you immediately realize it is the systems, food and agriculture systems, that need to be looked at through the Nexus lenses to make sure that all the trade-offs are reconciled and that people are at the center. Thank you very much.
We'd like to thank all of our experts and panelists, the FAO delegation, and with that we'd like to wrap up this session. I believe we are going to go into a lunch break after this. Thank you.